Hello aspirants. So in today's video, we would be talking about culture studies. What is culture studies? Types of culture and how it came into being and what were the major milestones of culture studies and the four most important writers of culture studies. Richard Hoggart, Stuart Hall, E.P. Thompson and Raymond Williams. Now we would upload another lecture which would talk of minor writers as well and the leftover topics and leftover ideas. And we would also discuss the PYQs of this unit specifically for UGC NET English. Now, what is culture studies? Now, culture studies came in mid-20s and it is very interdisciplinary because interdisciplinary means that there are lots of subjects, lots of disciplines which are blended in this one area, be it anthropology, be it sociology, be it literature, art and history, economy. So we are having ideas from lots of places. So that is a very interdisciplinary area and a very interesting PhD topic if you are interested in doing PhD. Culture studies is all about the aspects of how a text is produced. It is not interested in the characters, it is not interested in the ideas and summaries and the dialogues and everything. No, culture studies talks about that how a text is produced, which company is producing it, whether they are giving money to the money and wages to the employees, what kind of culture they have, what is the language that is used in this book, what kind of images and symbols and myths are used. So what is culture, right? So they are all interconnected. Now this term culture studies was given by Richard Hoggart, right? So when he established BCCCS in Birmingham in UK in 1964, he gave this term. There were other founders as well with him like Stuart Hall, we have Richard Hoggart, E.P. Thompson, Raymond Williams. So they are all the founders of this BCCCS. So from there it all gets started. Let us talk about Birmingham School and Frankfurt School. Now students gets confused in doing these two things. First came the Frankfurt School in 1920s in Germany. Frankfurt is in Germany. So the name of this Frankfurt School was Institute for Social Research. Now this was an institute specifically for social research. It was not something which was made for culture studies or something. It was all about the social research, that how society is forming and how there is class struggle and how things are right now and how culture is. So they were the people who were associated with critical theory. Now critical theory means how we think, how critically we think about something. Critically thinking means that negative plus positive and the opinions, the ideas. So they were the people who were more interested in critical thinking and they were having very Marxist philosophy in their mind that yes, there is a society, there is a class struggle between the people, but it is not just about money, it is all about the ideology also. There is capitalism, there is money, there is power and there is very inequality in the society. So we need critical thinking. We should know, we should be aware and conscious of what is happening to us, why we are getting exploited and what should we do in order to stop this exploitation. And this exploitation is leading to alienation. We are becoming alone. We cannot share our feelings to to anyone because we have to earn. We are getting exploited, we need food to eat and we have no options, no other work to do. So there was an alienation and there was conformity. Conformity means that we have to conform to the rules. We cannot protest. And there was suppression. So these were all the ideas of Frankfurt School. And there were members related to this school. These ones, so just remember them, their names. Like Max Horkheimer, we have Theodore Adorno, Herbert Marcuse. So just remember their name. Now these people were very looking at broad things, broad ideas. big picture. But when Nazi party came into the being, they persecuted these members because their idea, their critical thinking, their spirit to revolt was something which was not acceptable to Hitler party. So they persecuted them and they just, escaped from Germany. Now Birmingham School came into being in 1960s. Now this was established in 1964 by Stuart Hall. So they were the people who were specifically emphasized on popular culture. They said that media is something which is, making distinctions between the high and low culture. What is this? Like, what is this? Why are you saying that these people are from high culture, these are from low culture? What is the difference between them? They're human. So they said, the school said, the people associated with them are like shown here. So they said that no, there is nothing high and low. We are all ordinary. And in this video, we would be talking of these some critics today who were associated with Birmingham School. Now let us talk of the theoretical aspects of culture studies. Now after watching this video, you will get the concept and idea of what culture studies is all about. So whether you are a beginner or an advanced student, it is helpful for you. Now culture studies is specifically all about that, all about power relations. That in our culture we have power relations, we have power. Some people have power, some do not have. So this all, power is getting, in attention. Culture studies also talks of how identity is getting formed. If there is one person who is, having lots of money, then he would be having a different identity than a person who does not have money. So it is all about identity. It's all about how cultural, materialistic we are becoming. So the objective of culture studies is, to collapse this hierarchy. The hierarchy that society has made, that no, these are people from high culture, these are from low culture. So no, there is nothing like that. Just collapse this hierarchy. There is no hierarchy. So that is their objective. They look at the intangible things. Tangible means that something which we can touch, like money and materialistic things. But intangible things are our ideology, our thinking, our way of thinking, what we wear, how we talk, how we walk, what we eat, what we do, what we consume. So that is our intangible things. And it's not just that people get exploited on the basis of money only. No. Even if someone is telling us to think in this way, no, you would become a doctor, you will prepare for government job, you will wear this kind of clothes only, you will eat this food only, you will have this principle only. So this is also power relation, this is also exploitation. So this is what culture studies is scrutinizing. And what are the elements of culture studies? Culture studies talks of that how you can look at all these exploitation in language the people are using. We have seen that there are, we have seen that after coming of roasting videos, new generation is using a lot of abusive words. Their language is getting polluted. Roasting channels and different, we are roasting each other, we are abusing a lot. So our language is getting so cheap and vulgar. Our culture is also present in identities, how we are representing ourselves to the world, what kind of symbols we are using. If I am wearing a white cap, circular goggles and walking with a stick in my hand, now this is symbolizing Gandhi's, Mahatma Gandhi's movement. So that is how I am making you feel about me and what are my values. If I am telling you that I am somebody who have traditional values, then you will make an identity of me, that yes, this person has traditional values and the norms that I follow and the artifacts that I am using. Artifacts means the heritage, the things that I have preserved, that a society preserves for itself. So all these things makes our culture. Now there are different kinds of culture. So we have made shorts on all these kinds of cultures. I would recommend you to watch all these shorts, just 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes I would say, and just get your basics clear. And there are 3 processes which you should know about cultural globalization, which leads to cultural imperialism and globalization. So I would recommend you to watch all these shorts and get your basics clear before doing the writers. So let us start our journey of culture studies from Birmingham school critics like Richard Hoggart, Stuart Hall, E.P. Thompson and Raymond Williams. Let us talk about Stuart Hall, the godfather of multiculturalism. How? Let us see. Now he was a culture critic who was born in 1932 and he died in 2014. Now he was a Jamaican born cultural critic. So he was from Jamaica and he was a British Marxist. He has founded the journal New Left Review. Now this is a kind of journal which discusses political and social issues. Let me tell you that how he was a Marxist and how his approach was different from traditional Marxist. So if you know this fact about him, lots of things will get clear to you. Traditional Marxists used to believe that if you want to save the rights of working class people, then we should look at the class struggle. We should look at the money and how things are getting exploited and how they are getting exploited by less wages, by less rights which were given to them. So traditional Marxists were the people who used to look only on these things. But Stuart Hall said that yes, you are right, of course you are right, but the thing is we should also look at other cultural and political factors as well. It's not just about money and class struggle. It's about culture, it's about ideology, it's about hegemony. It's about the theories, different kinds of theories. It's about identity, it's about representation. So these are all terms that net is asking you. So now you know. So let us just talk about his reception theory first. Now what is reception theory? In reception theory, he said that meaning is not something which is made up and is delivered to the audience in a very direct way. No, meaning is not fixed. He said that if I am, a kind of encoder, or I would say somebody who encodes a message, who gives a message, right? So if I am an encoder and my message is transmitted to the decoder or my audience or someone who is listening, the system can be corrupted. Now what do we mean by this? The system is collapsed. There is a corruption in the messages and the audience is not somebody who would passively receive our ideas. They would fight, they would oppose, they would negotiate, they will construct their own meanings, and this may be possible that they will accept it as it is. So he gives 3 scenarios here in which he says it might be possible that the audience will receive the messages as it is, which is the dominant reading. Now what do we mean by this? If I tell you to buy this sticky note and you accept it and you go to the market and buy it, no matter whether you have the money, you have the resources or not, but just because I have said it and you are buying it, that means that my message was dominant over you. So this is a kind of dominant reading on your part, that you accepted the messages as it is and you were in a kind of submissive here. So this is known as the dominant reading. So that is how media fools us or dominates us. Secondly, the second case is negotiated meaning. Now negotiated reading. What do we mean by this? Negotiated reading means that if I tell you to buy this sticky note, but you said, no ma'am, why should we buy yellow only? We would buy orange, we would buy pink, we would buy a different color. So you are in a kind of accepting to buy this, but kind of negotiating or bargaining that no, we will make some modifications, we will not accept your messages 100%. So this is known as negotiation. And in the third case, if I tell you to buy this, But you says, no ma'am, why should we buy it? There is no need of sticky notes. We have our notebooks, we have other chits to write on them. So this is a kind of, you are opposing my messages. So there are some audience who oppose the media, that no, you are wrong, we would protest and we oppose your opinions. So these are three scenarios which we see in media. So this theory is known as reception theory, which he has given. Distortion is built into the system and there is lack of fit. Lack of fit means that things are not fitting together properly. Things are not as you think they are. There is disruption, there is corruption. He also talk about representation. What do we mean by representation? There are different images, myths, symbols, language that represents us. What do we mean by this representation? We live in a society where language represents us, where images represents us. How? If I am talking in English, in Indian society where most of the people kind of respects English language a lot, so they would tell that yes, this person speaks in English, this person seems to be really educated, this person is modern. So this is a kind of representation. They have made my identity. They have said that yes, this is how this woman is represented. So this is how this woman is, this is her identity, and that's how we represent her. And also he gives a term which is policing the crisis. Now what is this? In media creates a moral panic. Now we have a recent example of this. There was a blast near Red Fort recently, and in that I saw lots of news channels, and they were all saying that it's because of terrorists and it might be very intentional attack. So it is related to terrorism or something. But there was news channels were not directly telling it that the blast was in a van near the Red Fort. They were kind of making thumbnails and headlines that there was a blast in Red Fort. So it is a kind of creating moral panic. So that is how media works. They create moral panic. First, they will make you feel that yes, there is a crisis, and they will try to police it. They will try to regulate it. They will tell you that there is a crisis, you need to do this, you need to do that. They will create panic. So that is all known as moral panic. So this is known as policing the crisis. Another term which he gives, miscegenation. Now miscegenation is a process. It is a sexual act between two races in which one is white and the other can be any race. So in miscegenation, what happens is that different races come together, they breed and they have children. So this miscegenation has created multiple identities, multiple new ethnicities. जैसे कि we have African plus American, we have Afro-American. So there is a new identity, new ethnicity, I would say. So that is how in our culture things are now. He also says that how after 9/11 attacks, the people have represented Muslims in a wrong way. Not all the religion should be blamed for such things. So that is how media representation works. He talks of becoming and being of culture. He says that culture is not something which we become. It's our being, it's evolving, it's changing. It's not fixed that you become one day, that you belong to high culture one day, you belong to popular culture one day. No, it's not like that. We are all in a being. That means culture is a being. That means that we are forming, we are evolving, we are learning, we are blending in different cultures. It is all multidisciplinary. That culture is becoming as well as being. It was also associated with Black Arts movement. Now this was a kind of cultural, or I would say political movement which emerged in USA in 1960s. Now this was related to Afro-American people, and they were the black people. They had their own art, their own literature, their own music, their own culture, but the people of America were looking downwardly on them. So they fought for their rights, and this theme of fighting for the rights of the races, of being from a very different ethnicity into an nation of USA, they were facing different discriminations. So this was the same scenario which kind of were very relatable to our critique Stuart Hall, because he was also Jamaican born, right? So he was also associated with this movement, and this discriminatory experience was very common between them. Now he has also given a term which is Thatcherism. Thatcherism means now Margaret Thatcher was the first lady prime minister of United Kingdom, and she had a policy. Now she was known as the Iron Lady, and we have two Iron Ladies in the world. The first is Margaret Thatcher, and the second is our first female prime minister of India, who was Indira Gandhi. So Margaret Thatcher was known for her conservative and neo-liberalist policies. Now let me just tell you in the short that she was very much in favor of cutting taxes and privatization, and that government should not interfere into the markets that much, and people should be left on their own. They should earn on their own, and we don't care who is getting exploited and what. You should struggle and survive, you should do the hard work. So there, it's kind of laissez-faire, I would say, philosophy. So this was the philosophy of Margaret Thatcher. Now our critic Stuart Hall was leftist, and this Margaret Thatcher, they were rightist, we would say. So he was not very much in acceptance of this rightist theory. So that is why the work, the journal that they have founded is known as New Left Review. So all these policies are a kind of very capitalist, which do not work for the welfare of the people of working class or low class. They supports privatization and things like that. And I have already told you about the New Left Review, which was a journal founded by this Stuart Hall, right? And this talks about it, how we should look at the political, social, culture, literature, art, fashion and everything, and not just class struggle. We should do the critical thinking. We should do the critical thinking, and we should look at different factors. Let us discuss about another writer, E.P. Thompson. Now E.P. Thompson was a British historian, and he is a culture critic. Not very specifically we would talk of him, because he was more interested in knowing the history of working class. Now his most important work, which is asked many times by UGC NET, is The Making of English Working Class, which was published in 1963. Now in this work he talks of how late, we would say, 18th century to early 19th century, the working class and their history has changed. They used to have shared cultural rituals, and they used to protest for themselves, and they have their own oral history, their own culture, their own language. So but things are changing, but the history of theirs is really very wonderful, and they have made their own collective working class identity. It specifically talks about their history. So this is the only work which is important, and the only idea you need to know about him. Let us talk about Raymond Williams now. Now Raymond Williams was born in 1921 and he died in 1988. Now he was from Wales. He was known as Welsh. Now he talks of how we should focus on lived experience of the people rather than their resources and what they do. He has written books like Culture and Society, which was a foundational text and was published in 1958. I know things get boring when we just revise the books and dates, but you should do some hard work. A few books a few important books, a few key terms and concepts should be clear. Now, in his book Culture and Society, he says that there is a kind of historical development of culture and a key shift in social, political and economic scenarios in the United Kingdom from 1780s to 1950s. The culture is getting changed, the society is getting changed, and culture is something which is a whole way of life. It's not about high culture, it's not about low culture, it's about what we do, what we feel, what we do experience every day, our little struggles that we do every day. So culture is our lived experience, it is a totality of experience, it is a whole way we live. So this is what he says, and he has given us theory in structure of feelings. What he says now, structure of feeling means that every generation has its own vibe or its own mood, the way we think about everything which surrounds us, the way we think, the way we feel, the way our mood is, the way our vibe is. So this is known as the feeling and how it is structuralized. So he gives three things. He says that there is an emergent culture, residual culture and the dominant culture. Now dominant culture means which is dominating at present. Residual means that which has some residuals at present, and emergent means which is emerging. And now AI is one such kind of technology which is emerging, which is still in the process of getting better. So that is known as, or we can say 5G and AI, they are all emergent culture. And residual culture is one such culture which was very old, but it is still there. Like some people still uses Nokia phones, the button ones. They have some residues. There are some people who still uses very old things. So these are known as the residues of old, or we can say previous culture. And the dominant culture is one which is dominant at present, which is everywhere. You see, like people are still using 4G phones, we are still using different Chinese products, so that is dominant. So this is known as dominant mood, dominant culture. So that is how our feelings are. So this is what we find in our society. He also talks of how culture is ordinary. Culture is ordinary means that culture is what? Culture is something which is not of high only, which is not about low only. It's about the ordinary people. It's about most of the people of the world. It's about their experience. And culture is ordinary. It is not high and low. It is not just related to the elite classes. It is not just related to the lower classes. It is all about ordinary people, ordinary experiences. Then he gives another term which is cultural materialism. In this he says that culture, if we want to look at the culture of the people, we should look at the physical things around them, which is tangible. If I am sitting here, I have my phone, I have my pen, I have my books, I have my laptop or something. So this is all about the physical things that I'm using right now. It's all, that these are all which I bought by the money. These are all materialistic things. So cultural materialism means that if you want to look at their culture, we should look at the material they are using, the money that they have spent, the money that they have in their pockets. So how texts are produced, how different companies, firms, factories are producing the text, producing the novel, producing the poem, producing the movie, and how much money is spent there, how there are power relations, what kind of exploitation, whether the employees are given some wages or not. So all these things are cultural materialism. These are the new things that are emerging nowadays. He also talks of commodification. Commodification means that there are different commodities. Nothing is original. There are different consumers, different things to get consumed, and it's all commodification. And later he also says that how even the vocabulary is getting evolved. There are, in his work Keywords, he has analyzed more than 100 words, and he says that these words has their own history, but these history are, very much different from the way we are using them nowadays, like culture, society, nature, masses, and literature. So they are very subjective. They used to have different meaning at the time when they came into existence, but now they have different meanings. So even the words are evolving, like our literature, like fashion, like politics, like economics. Things are, even words are, even language is getting evolved. Now, this term cultural materialism was given by Raymond Williams himself in the book Resources of Hope, and it is a kind of book of essays, and in there we have one essay whose title is Culture is Ordinary. Okay, and this term was made famous by Jonathan Dollimore and Ellen Sinfield, who have written Political Shakespeare. Now, in this Political Shakespeare, I do not want you to get confused in the Political Shakespeare, which was written by Ellen Sinfield and Jonathan Dollimore and Raymond Williams' works. So I'm just making you clear here the points of that book, Political Shakespeare, because that is also important, because in that they have said that there are four characteristics of culture. If you want to look at the culture, you should look at four things. First, look at the historical context, that what kind of history they have, the historical struggles and everything. Second, close textual analysis, that means that how text is formed, what kind of language is there, what kind of culture, which dialect, which words, which jargons. And third, he says look at the political commitment, that means that what kind of political views a novel or a poem or a text has. So that is also important in order to know the culture. And the fourth thing he says that we should look at the theoretical method also, like what are the theories that can be used, whether the text is feminist, whether the text is feminist, whether the text is Marxist, whether the text is modernist or postmodernist in its approach. So he said that if you want to look at the culture of the people, look at these four things. Now coming back to Raymond Williams, he has also written a book which is The Long Revolution, published in 1961, in which his culture is not just about historical changes, the big events, the big events and everything big, historical changes, the wars, Second World War, First World War, major depressions in the world. Culture is not just that. It changes every day. We are experiencing it every day. It is not just a short revolution, a short historical development. No, it's a very long revolution, right? So this was his idea. In his other work, The Country and the City, he says that how the culture of country people and the city people, urban and rural, are very much different. So that is all about the ideas of Raymond Williams. Talk about Richard Hoggart first. Now Richard Hoggart is one such person who were more interested in sociology. Now he was born in 1918 and he died in 2014. So he has given some ideas like popular culture, massification, drift, pulp fiction. So what do we mean by all these terms? Now let me tell you, there are many works that they have written. The works like The Uses of Literacy, which was published in 1957, and An Imagined Life, A Local Habitation, and a lot of works. So just remember two or three the most important works, and the main work here is The Uses of Literacy in 1957. Now in this work, it is a kind of part autobiography, I would say. In the first part he talks about his times when he was born of 1930s, and the second part in which he talks about the contemporary times of 1950s. Now he says that the time has changed. When I was born, things were very different. But now, in my contemporary time, the time in which I am living, in which I am working, is very much different. He was born in industrial city of Leeds, and that is why, being from a working class background, he was able to understand the problems of working class. that why we are not getting the kind of respect we deserve, why people look at us in a very condescending way, and why we are low bro, or the people from the low culture, why we are low. So, in the book The Uses of Literacy, which was published in 1957, he says that these popular culture and this mass media. Now, what is mass media? Now, mass media, or we can say the massification, the emergence of different, cheap products for the masses in large numbers, like mobile phones, or large number of fashion, clothes, food, everything which is affordable and cheap for different people, and popular magazines, pulp fiction, newspaper, tabloids. So all these things are in a kind of, exploiting the working people, exploiting the working class in terms of employment and in terms of getting famous. So he said that this is all massification, and there is a culture of consumerism now, which is known as consumer culture, and these working class people are not getting the kind of respect that they deserve. So this is all massification, and there is a drift. What do we mean by drift? There is a slow or gradual change in times. There is a slow and gradual change nowadays between these two time periods, and things are getting changed now. Culture is getting changed, mass media is coming, consumer culture is coming, working class are no longer respectable. So all these things he talks about. He also established BCCCS in United Kingdom, which is a kind of a very famous, or we would say a foundation of culture studies. Now this institution was established by him and his fellow cultural critics like Raymond Williams, Stuart Hall. So he was, in 1968, Stuart Hall became his assistant. In 64, he established this institution, and in 68, Stuart Hall became the assistant. And later in 1971, when Richard Hoggart became the Director General in UNESCO, dictatorship was given to Stuart Hall, and later after Stuart Hall, the dictatorship was given to Richard Johnson. Now, know these few points. And he has also given a phrase of shiny barbarism. Now, what do we mean by shiny barbarism? Barbarism means an act which is very cruel, which is very harmful to others. So this all mass media, mass product, and everything which is shiny and appealing and very fashionable, and this fast world is a kind of a barbarism. So these were some of the ideas of Richard Hogarth. Thank you for staying tuned, and we hope that you also watch the part 2 of this video, which would be very important to you, and we would be posting it by tomorrow itself. So I hope you have seen the post where we would be covering cultural studies, literary theory and literary criticism in next 7 days for UGC NET December 2025. And also I want to tell you that we have a British literature playlist which is about to get completed, and we have lectures on linguistics, English in India, and Indian literature as well. So in just a few videos you can cover everything. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell.